Welcome to Stuff and Whiskey. I'm Josh.
And I'm Erin.
And today we're doing a blind head-to-head between Michter's Small Batch Bourbon and the heavily allocated Michter's 10-Year Bourbon. The results are stunning.
Welcome to the channel bringing real-world content to the real-world whiskey consumer.
Our head-to-head comparisons are always double blind to remove any bias. We don't know what we're drinking, but we'll give each pour a score with our objectively excellent subjective scoring rubric, and then we'll find out what we're drinking. Once we know what we're drinking, we'll give each pour a retail score based on price and availability, and a consumer score based on whether we'd buy it again or not. We'll then add the retail and consumer score to the tasting score, and that will give us what we call our real world score. We're going to run our randomizer, and we are doing the 10th pair, which is right here. Let's get into it. Ooh.
I just get an alcohol smell right off the bat because that's what it is.
That's usually what you get up front until you get into some sips.
Yeah.
I'm getting like a bright maple syrup. You know how like maple syrup can come in like the dark amber or the medium or the light? I'm getting kind of a really light maple syrup nose.
This kind of has like a straw/rubber taste to me. Like Keds. I think I've said that before in something we've done, but...
Yeah. It tastes pretty low proof to me.
How do I know if something's low proof? It doesn't burn?
Yeah, if it just feels more tame. It's not like a big kick in the mouth.
Yeah.
I want more from this after the first sip.
I feel like the second sip gave me more.
I'm getting that light maple syrup on the palate as well.
It's like a second date. Like I got a little more out of it than the first date. I got a little more out of our second date than our first date.
Whoa.
Emotionally.
Yeah, exactly. That's what, of course.
Yeah, it tastes kind of like hay and straw, but not in a bad way. Like it has like an undertone of hay to me. That's about it. That's all I know.
Yeah, I'm getting some astringency from it for sure. It's kind of like the astringency is kind of like creeping up into my nose. It's violating.
Like pool chlorine water?
A little bit, yeah. It's like it just feels kind of almost carbonated or something.
Okay.
It seems like it's just kind of getting up into my sinus cavity. It seems pretty tame. On the nose, it's nice on the nose. I mean, I wish it were more complex. It's pretty simple. It's kind of a one-note wonder on the nose. On the palate, it's just leaving me lacking.
Yeah, I don't know what this is, but I feel like I've had drinks that I like more than this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Let's get into glass 2.
Ooh. It smells a little spicy.
What kind of spice?
Like a red hot spice.
Cinnamon?
Like a sugary spice.
Okay.
Like cinnamon, but like with lots of sugar in it.
I'm definitely getting some brown sugar, but that's about it. I've got maple syrup on glass 1, brown sugar on glass 2.
Kind of just feel like my nose was accosted.
Yeah?
I don't know why.
That's what glass 1 did to me.
It's not a super strong smell, but for some reason my nose like...
No, this is very faint as well. These are both leaving me wanting on the nose. Not bad by any means, but pretty simple and pretty faint. I'm getting that cinnamon.
Yeah.
This is more spicy on the mid palate.
I'm getting the same like undertones of like straw from this, but with like a little cinnamon kick.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little Christmas vibes. Like almost Christmas. Like after Thanksgiving when they start putting up Christmas stuff. So it's not quite Christmas, but you're in that like Christmas spirit. I'm kind of getting that.
Yeah, I can get a little bit of pine there. I'm definitely, there's like cinnamon, pine, and like a grainy note. Like I'm getting that straw on the palate now after a second sip.
Yeah.
And it goes a little bitter on the back end.
Yeah. It kind of like stings back here.
Yeah.
Like back for me.
It's certainly more complex than glass 1. I don't know if I like the complexity. I don't know if I like the flavors more.
I think I'm with you on that.
So we're going to take a break. We're going to clear our palates and we're going to give each of these glasses a proper scoring assessment. And then we'll be back with our tasting scores and we'll find out what we're drinking. All right, let's get into our tasting scores, which are based on the 3 categories of nose, flavor profile, and experience on the palate. We use a very simple thumbs up system, so 1 thumb equals 1 point, 2 thumbs equals 2 points, and just okay is worth half a point. We will take those 3, add them together. That gives us our tasting score for a total of 6 possible points if something gets 2 thumbs up in each category. So, Aaron, what were your tasting scores for glass 1?
It smelled sweeter after I took a sip of this one and then took some more of this one. So I gave it a thumbs up, and I gave it just okay on the flavor and the experience because it was pretty just okay. So for 2 out of 6 points.
2 out of 6 points. Okay. So glass 1 for me, I gave a thumbs up on the nose because that maple sweetness, like you said, once we did some A/B comparisons between the 2 glasses, that sweetness was really ramped up on glass 1.
And so I liked that. I did too. I couldn't smell it at first, but I liked it when I did.
It was a very pleasant thing. So thumbs up for me on the nose for glass 1. I gave it just okay for flavor and just okay for experience because in both of them, it was pretty weak. The maple flavor carried through to the palate, but it's a very one-note wonder. Very simple. I just didn't really love it that much. So I also gave glass 1 2 out of 6 possible points for tasting scores. Where are you at on glass 2?
Okay, so for glass 2, I gave it just okay on the nose. Okay. Just okay on the flavor, but it was a better experience than glass 1, so I gave it a thumbs up on glass 1.
Had a little more going on?
Yeah. So also, though, it ended up getting a 2 out of 6, even though the experience was better.
Because it had more going on in the experience.
In the experience. I had a better experience drinking it than the other one.
With your scores being equal in 2 out of 6 for both on the tasting score, which one was your favorite?
Okay, probably glass 2. Because I feel like the experience is worth more. Like, the man can look good, the man can smell good, but if he ain't acting good, it's a no-go for me.
That's fair.
So
I feel like that's fair.
The experience is worth more, even though it's weighted the same. In my book, it's a little more heavier weighted. Yeah. So my favorite would be glass 2.
So for me on glass 2, I gave it just okay on the nose. It did have that cinnamon sugar going on. I just have a personal preference towards that maple syrup sweetness. I like that more. So just okay on the nose. I actually gave glass 2 a thumbs down on the flavor profile.
Really?
The cinnamon and sugar carried through, but there was just so much bitter oak that was there. And not a lot. It wasn't a voluminous amount of oak, but what was there was very bitter.
Okay.
And I just didn't like it. So thumbs down on the flavor, and I gave it a just okay on the experience. It definitely did have a few more layers there on the experience, but the finish was very short. It was still very weak. And
I think they both were.
They were. I mean, an interesting point here. Did you really even love either one of these? Would you want either one of these again? Would you want another pour of either one of these?
Probably not, knowing that there are other whiskeys out there that I would enjoy more, that I would like the smell more, the palate more, and like the experience of drinking it better.
Same. I'm not in love with either one of these. No. If I never had either one of these again, my feelings would not be hurt.
And if any one of these is an expensive bottle, I'm gonna be very confused. I
can't imagine
because I would not pay any. I wouldn't. No. Yeah. We'll have to see.
We own these bottles, but we will not be purchasing them again for you guys.
Oh.
Because we want to show you.
That's why.
What's real, like real world content. Let's find out what these are. Oh
my gosh, this is gonna be a huge upset.
I can't wait.
I just know
I can't
it.
wait to find out.
I just know it.
Glass 1, which was my favorite glass, is number 19. And glass 2 is number 18.
So number 19, glass 1, is Michter Small Batch Bourbon.
What?
I've had Michters before, and I liked it.
I've had Michters before and really liked it.
Actually, I've had the Michter's rye. That's what I really liked. I don't know if I've had their bourbon before. Have I?
So 19 is small batch?
19 is small batch.
So 18, which I liked less, you preferred more because of the experience, is
the Michter's 10-year bourbon. And The Michter Small Batch is 91 proof, 91.4 proof, and Michter's 10-year bourbon is 94.4 proof. Oh my gosh, you have the prices here. The 10-year bourbon is $130.
And it goes for $220 on the secondary
I would
market.
not pay $130.
I wouldn't have paid $15 for this.
No way, Jose. Mm-mm.
I mean, I paid.
Never.
I paid that. I paid retail for it.
Well, don't do it again.
I won't. I knew this. So this is the Michter's 10-year bourbon from 2020. It has sorely disappointed me in the past, and it was in this blind. I cannot believe that this is what this is. I would have guessed this was like some bottom shelf head-to-head. And that's fascinating to me because Michter's Small Batch, in my bracket that I did prior to starting this channel, Michter's Small Batch went all the way to the end. And that just goes to show you that on different days, your palate can be totally different. It can perceive things totally different. Typically on Michter's Small Batch, I get like a candy sweetness. Today I got a lot of maple syrup. Yeah. And I really like that. But this was lacking for me today. This just felt very simple. The Michter's Small Batch did.
So the Michter Small Batch is a $50 bottle. And well, in our market, it's a $50 bottle. Yeah. And then the 10-year is a $130 bottle. So there's a huge price difference. But
you can't get your hands on the Michter's 10-year bourbon unless you've got an in, unless you drive to Kentucky and pick it up from the distillery. And even that's a bit of luck. Or unless you're willing to go on the secondary market and buy a bottle from an individual that has procured it. And that's going to cost you about $220.
Oh, my gosh.
So I am actually really disappointed in both of these tonight.
Me too, actually.
I knew I liked the Small Batch. I knew the 10-year has disappointed me. This makes a lot of sense right now because the 10-year, having that extra complexity to it, because of the extra age in the barrel, that makes a lot of sense.
So the Small Batch isn't aged 10 years. The Small Batch is aged less.
No. And this is the 10-year is a single barrel product, so it only comes from one barrel. It maybe yields 150 bottles, so bottles can vary.
Well, yeah. And I will say, you said it's not that good. If you are not a whiskey drinker, these are very easy to drink because they don't have a lot of flavor.
They are.
So I wouldn't spend $130 to get something that doesn't have a lot of flavor, but maybe if you're like just entering into the whiskey space, the $50 bottle might be better because it's like a very light flavor. Yeah. There's not a lot of flavor there, so you're not going to go from not having any whiskey to having like high proof whiskey. I think maybe am I wrong?
They are both approachable, although I feel like the 10-year, the oak on there, and that makes sense that I'm getting the oak because of the age, but the oak on that bottle goes so bitter. And I don't think that's going to be very approachable for somebody getting into whiskey. So,
well, it's also $130.
At least for So at least for the 2020 batch of Michter's bourbon, I would pass on that. It's just not to my personal liking. The Small Batch, that maple syrup is just jumping out of the glass.
Yeah, and I really like that. I smell the maple syrup more now after I've tried this and then I've tried this and then I come back to this. I smell the maple syrup more in the smell, but I don't taste it.
Yeah. I'm getting more astringency on this bottle than I ever had before.
I don't taste it.
On the Small Batch bottle.
This one? First one? It still tastes like straw to me, but I get the maple syrup smell now.
Yeah. So we need to give these a retail score and a consumer score and then go to our real world scores. So glass one, based on the price of $50.
Glass one, okay.
And the availability is decent. It's not in every market. It's not always on the shelf, but you can usually get your hands on it if you're willing to visit a couple of stores, especially different like good stores, and it's going to cost you $50.
And it's $50. $50 seems to be an average price for a bottle of whiskey, right? Like it's not cheap, but it's not super expensive.
Rare Breed's $50.
Okay, that's my benchmark.
Yeah. Rare Breed is like what I call a yardstick bourbon. Like you measure everything else by that. Okay. So you can get Rare Breed for $50. Obviously, it's higher proof, but this is like if this is like 90 proof, that ballpark range. Something else you could get that's in that ballpark range. It's 90 proof. That is really good. You could get like a 1792 Small Batch for $30. Like you can get a lot of 90 proof bourbons that are good for $30. Michter's. Okay. I definitely think Michter's Small Batch is a bit more of a premium product in comparison to a lot of things on the market.
Premium in what way?
Price-wise. Like, you can get a good 90
Gotcha.
proof bourbon
Okay.
for $30. So
Okay.
you're paying almost double to pay $50 for this.
Okay.
So with that in mind, I'm going to give Glass One Michter Small Batch, I'm going to give it a just okay
On the retail score?
on the retail score.
Yeah, I think I agree. Just okay. When you said there's 1792 small batch, which I've had before, I think I liked that one.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but
I mean, Buffalo Trace is $30.
yeah, $30.
Wild Turkey,
$30
$101.
is a good price range for a lower proof bourbon, I feel like. Okay.
Prior to becoming a bourbon nerd and getting deep into the whiskey world, I very rarely spent more than $30 for a bottle. I didn't want to spend more than that. So to me, it's just okay. Would you buy Glass One again? Consumer score.
No.
Thumbs down. Okay.
I would not buy either of these two. I'm just going to tell you right now.
I would, based on prior tastings of Michter Small Batch, I want to say that I would replace it.
You can't do that, though.
But
You have to base on this.
Based on this tasting, I would give the Michter Small Batch a thumbs down. I would not buy that again, especially for $50 when I can get Wild Turkey 101 for $25. So
All right, so what does that make your total score?
so my real world score
For Glass One.
is a 2 on tasting. It gets a half a point on retail score and a thumbs down on consumer score.
And that
Putting that at a 2.5 out of 10.
and that is mine as well. It has a 2 on the tasting score, and then the retail score I have a 0.5 or a just okay on retail and thumbs down on consumer. So it also has a 2.5 out of 10.
So we're agreeing on the Michter Small Batch. On the Michter's 10-year,
Oh Lord.
you can't get your hands on it. This had to be procured by a connection. Okay, she's circling 2 thumbs down on both.
It's a no-go for me, bro.
I'm gonna also say, I mean, value for the money at $130, and you can't even get it unless you've got a hookup.
I can buy Guitar Hero for $130. Which I would
She is on this Guitar Hero
like
train
to
right
play
now.
again.
We're feeling the Guitar Hero train right now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it a thumbs down on retail score. $130 for that product. Different single barrels may be better. Probably will be better. It can't get much worse. Different years may be better. Word around the water cooler is that previous years are much better than the 2019, 2020 releases.
Interesting.
That doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me to continue buying $130 bottles.
Yeah.
It's a pretty bottle, but other than that, it doesn't taste very good, so I'm not inclined to want to spend my money on that again. So that's a thumbs down for me on retail score, and would I buy it again? Obviously not. So that, wow, that puts Michter's 10-year bourbon for me at a 1.0 out of 10
Wow.
on the real world score.
Wow. And I also gave it a thumbs down in retail score and consumer score, but that keeps it at a 2.0 for 2.0 out of 10.
Wow. These both are highly revered bourbons.
Yeah, and this is interesting because
And we just eviscerated them.
Glass 2 gets a 2 out of 10, and I said that would be the one I would actually drink over Glass 1, which got a 2.5 out of 10.
I mean, these are highly, highly revered in their class. And I think we just proved to ourselves, if not to you guys as well, that any hype around all this Michter stuff, like, is it good? Yeah, it's fine. But for $130, it's not fine.
Right.
It's not fine.
I think it's worth trying a lesser bottle to see if you like it. But I wouldn't spend $130 to try a bourbon I've never had.
No, I wouldn't either. I would try to go to a bar. I'd try to find, if you're really interested in this, I'd try to go to a bar and find a good bar in your city or the nearest big city that you can go to that might have a good bourbon selection, and try this before you buy it, because this 2020 bottle has disappointed me every single time I've tasted it. And that's a bummer to have spent $130 on it. But that's part of the game. So
thank you for watching today's video. If you've had these before and are as surprised as we are at these results, leave a comment down below. And also don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you can keep seeing content like this.
yeah, do the things. You guys have been here before.
You know the drill.
You know the drill. Till next time, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.